As Missy Elliott announces her first headlining tour, a look at the 2001 song that proved a game-changer for the rap legend. It's hard to believe that she's never had her own headlining tour, but Missy Elliott has just announced her first, 27 years after the release of her debut album. Starting on July 4 in Vancouver and set to wrap on August 22, Out of This World, the Missy Elliott Experience 2024 will feature support from Ciara, Busta Rhymes and Timbaland. Pre-sale tickets for the tour launch today, with general sale available from April 12. Fans have been asking me to tour forever, but I wanted to wait until I felt the time was right, because I knew if I was ever going to do it, I had to do it big, and I had to do it with family, Elliott shared in a statement. This is an incredible time in my life as I am experiencing so many milestone firsts, Elliott continued. Being the first female hip-hop artist to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and now going out on my first headline tour. When Elliott was inducted in November 2023, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame paid tribute to the in-demand songwriter, path-breaking producer, label exec, and video trendsetter who holds the record for most platinum albums by a woman rapper and who forged new paths for women in the music industry and beyond by unapologetically owning her body, her sexual desires, and her blackness. In 2004, Elliott Co headlined the Verizon Ladies' first tour with Beyoncé and Alicia Keys. Arguably, one song released 3 years earlier proved to be a turning point in the career of the Virginia-born rapper, singer-songwriter, and producer, Get Your Freak On, which would become one of the most iconic anthems in modern music. This was no debut. Elliott had already made a bold impact with hits over 2 albums, Supa Dupa Fly 1997 and Da Real World 1999, as well as penning songs for R&B stars such as Aaliyah and SWV with her longtime friend, producer, and collaborator, Timbaland. But it was a game-changer. From its opening notes, the track was fantastically irrepressible, the 6-note melody played on a Punjabi 1-stringed tumbai, the impulsive tabla percussion, Elliott's vivacious southern flow. I know you dig the way I SW switch my style. In 2001, it felt like a thrilling shock to the system. Countless plays, remixes, and multi-genre covers later, Get Your Freak On still sounds utterly electrifying. More like this. American's first black superstars. How pop stars can be truly provocative. The song that unites a divided U.S. Switching things up had definitely been Elliott's intention. By then in her late 20s, she was already a savvy businesswoman, had founded her own offshoot, the Goldmine, from major label Elektra, and was conscious of the industry pressure surrounding her next move. There was also a sense that while Timbaland's distinctive productions were proving widely influential, they weren't yet getting their mainstream due. In a 2001 Vibe feature written by Mark Weingarten, Elliott explained that, I wanted to do what everybody else is scared to do. She and Timbaland had actually created Get Your Freak On as an impromptu late addition for what would be her third album, Missy. So addictive. First, though, she intended to let the track marinate in the clubs for a while, get a street buzz going. This buzz would blossom into a crossover storm. Get Your Freak On channeled serious hip-hop cash, worldly flavors, and an instant, all-encompassing pop appeal. As Elliott insisted, it could be about dancing, the bedroom, whatever. You're cleaning your house, get your freak on. It's also impossible to separate the vivid music from its eye-popping visuals. Elliott had already established a reputation for outlandish videos directed by Hype Williams. The 90s had proved a creatively febrile, increasingly big-budget period for U.S. hip-hop and R&B, but Elliott presented alternative, fuller-figured and fearlessly surreal statements. For Get Your Freak On, she turned to a new collaborator, video director Dave Meyers, and together they conjured a murky, glamorous world that projected the avant-garde into the prime time. Meyers told Fortune in 2019 about his initial connection with Elliott. She reached out to take me to dinner and then took me to see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. We just vibed about perspectives of the world and weird stuff and developed a trust. There are no limits with Missy. The crazier, the better. She tends to respond to interesting movement. Reaching the mainstream. Get Her Freak On's urgent dance moves were created by another of Elliott's regular collaborators, visionary choreographer Nadine Hi-Hat Ruffin. Elliott's dancers throw shapes in some kind of industrial underworld crouched on concrete blocks, hanging upside down like bats. The video also spotlights an array of Elliott's established and emerging peers, Timbaland, Busta Rhymes, Eve, LL Cool J, Ja Rule, Nicole Ray. Elliott herself is both queenly and cartoonish, craning her head from her body, swinging from a chandelier, and in one memorably trippy, Matrix-like effect, spitting long distance into a male dancer's mouth. It felt like a watershed moment where, sonically, you feel like the world would never be the same again. Nihil Arthana Yaki. The track received international airplay, scoring platinum success on both sides of the Atlantic. In the UK, Elliott was emerging as a cover star across publications that had rarely afforded such attention to hip-hop, although she had already been a mainstay in acclaimed street culture and music magazine Touch. Get Her Freak On was the song that really took Missy to the mainstream, although R&B fans already knew her from her earlier band Sista, and had the 2 albums prior to this, says Lawrence Lardy, former contributing editor of Touch, now creative director at Ravensbourne University. I liked the track, though I did think that everyone was playing catch-up. They'd finally seen how good she is. And it immediately sounded and looked different in the national charts. This wasn't Oasis or S Club 7. It was the age of bling, but also a time where the mainstream was opening up to the offbeat in other acts like Outkast. It was also a precursor to the UK really projecting its own identity in hip-hop and R&B. BBC broadcaster, lifelong hip-hop fan and then club DJ Nihil Arthanayaki recalls hearing the track for the first time. It felt like a watershed moment where, sonically, you feel like the world would never be the same again, he says, emphatically. This also felt like a transformative point in Western mainstream music, where Eastern influences and samples were given natural prominence, rather than being sidelined and rarefied as world music. In addition to the Indian inspirations, Get Her Freak On features an intro and outro in Japanese. Certain sections of the press had leaned towards an esoteric Orientalism when it came to Asian music, says Arthanayaki. Then this guy Timbaland was African American, and one of the biggest producers in the world, along with one of the most exciting rappers on the planet, and they incorporated the beats in a way that was commercially viable, not just exotic. It kind of gave Asian producers, and people who used Asian beats, a validation. The percussive spine of this track, the inordinate amount of money they'd spent on this video, meant that its cultural impact was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It came before Addictive by Truth Hurts 2002 and What's Happenin' by Method Man 2004, which both sampled Bollywood. I joined a brand new Asian Beats show on Radio 1 in 2002. I can't definitively say the two things were connected, but the fact is that Radio 1 felt something was going on around Asian sounds. I do remember interviewing Timbaland in 2003, and he went to Southall afterwards to buy loads of Asian CDs. Get Her Freak On still feels like a global hotbed, fueling new generations of samples and remixes. Arthanayaki excitedly plays me a 2019 Mastic Soul and Chucky bootleg down the phone, and adds that the track's creative dexterity is its enduring strength. Get Her Freak On is a party record that still bangs. You can imagine it being the kind of track that gangstas and pretty boys wanna dance to, he says. It's pop, it's hard, it's got everything you want in a hip-hop single. There's another reason why it works. It's 178 beats per minute, like drum and bass, but you can dance to it on halftime 8-9 BPM, so ravers and hip-hop heads will like it. It appeals across genres. The track has even proved a bop for music theorists, such as Professor Ethan Hine, a doctoral fellow in music education at NYU. In his blog October 2020, Hine describes Get Your Freak On as my go-to example for Phrygian mode similar to the modern natural minor scale, with ancient Greek origins, and transcribes Elliott's a cappella flow into a melodic study. It's a hypnotic contrast to a flurry of Get Your Freak On covers spanning Britney Spears in Vegas to alt-rockers Eels. Elliott herself remains the original, of course. In Get Your Freak On, she declares y'all can't come close to me, and she has repeatedly reminded us of the track's power, reprising the track at the Super Bowl XLIX halftime show as special guest for Katy Perry, in a deeply surreal surprise 2016 TV cameo with Michelle Obama in James Corden's Carpool Karaoke. The former First Lady had clearly memorized the flow, and as the dazzling centerpiece of her genuinely show-stopping set when she received the MTV Vanguard Award at 2019's VMAs. Lardy points out that Elliott and Timbaland's futurist ethos has stood the test of time. Missy is still present through social media, he adds. Contemporary stars like Beyoncé or Rihanna will always be paying reverence to Missy, and acknowledging her influence. As Myers says, Missy was always an outlier, and as a result, a high-risk taker. Those high risks led to a legacy that influenced a generation. 23 years later, Get Your Freak On continues to sound revelatory. If you would like to comment on this story or anything else you have seen on BBC Culture, head over to our Facebook page or message us on Twitter. And if you liked this story, sign up for the weekly BBC.com features newsletter, called The Essential List. A hand-picked selection of stories from BBC Future, Culture, Work Life and Travel, delivered to your inbox every Friday. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you.